Buses have arrived. You can see the buses at the back there. The terminal has been completed. Ayalolo Bus Service, a very appropriate name for this system. The system is unique in the sense of the fact that the buses are going to move according to time. If it's every 30 minutes, a bus will take off. Whether it's full or it's not full, 30 minutes it will take off. So the conductors are not going to stand and be shouting Accra, 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 Accra. 30 minutes, if a bus must move, it will move. And we're starting with this corridor, Amasaman of Anko Achimota to Tudu corridor. There will be two kinds of buses. There will be the express bus, and that one will go straight, direct. And there will be the ones that stop along the road. So if you are going to stop in Tesano, you don't take the express service, you take the one that stops along the road, so that when you get to Tesano, you can get off. It's going to be a new system. It's going to be a new system, and you can use your mobile phone to pay the fare. And so if you have mobile money, you use your mobile and pay the fare, and you can ride the bus. You know, it's going to be electronic ticketing. And so if you have an electronic ticket, you slot it and then you ride the bus. This is a collaboration between government and the private transport unions. And so we formed an overseeing company called GAPTI that will be responsible for supervising the operations of the bus. There's going to be an operations room here. It's fully computerized, and there will be people there monitoring. At every one time, they can tell where every single bus is, and whether it's late or it is on time, they'll be able to tell, and they can communicate with the driver and tell him what to do. And so this is a modern system. We're starting with the Amasaman of Anko Achimota route, and then from there we're going to start with Adenta to Accra. Then we're going to start from Kaswa to Accra, and then we'll do Tema to Accra. So all the lateral routes coming into the city are going to be served with this new bus system. But Amasaman of Anko Achimota, you are number one, and that's why we're starting here. And so I want to thank you very much for the warm welcome you gave me. I'll be back here for us to commission and launch this bus project. This is just an inspection visit. They are finishing the terminal in Accra Central, and once that is finished, before the end of this year, I'll come and will officially launch the service. Maira, we have completed a new water system that is providing Maira with water. And with regards to Amasaman, we are interconnecting the Nsawam's water system to Amasaman so that we can increase the amount of water that Nsawam is receiving. We're going to speed up that project so that Amasaman, which is a very fast, one of the fastest growing metropoli in the Greater Accra region, can get sufficient water to feed its residents. As you are aware, we have worked on the Awoshi-Pokwasi Road, and we have created a modern dual carriage road with various facilities all along the road. For communities that didn't have water, we have drilled boreholes for them. For those that didn't have schools, we have built schools for them. We have built clinics in some of the communities. We're building a modern lorry park, and we're building a market all along that road. Now when the road reaches Pokwasi, we're going to build a bridge over the Achimota Road and continue that road from Pokwasi all the way to the Ritz Junction. And so that is the next phase that we're going to work on.
On the national grid. by shifting to efficient renewable energy options such as solar. A municipal waste generation profile, MWGP, will be developed. It will be useful in building waste-to-energy plants in communities with excessive waste generation, such as Accra. This approach will improve the energy mix and promote development through green, reliable, and affordable energy delivery. Oil and gas. The People's National Convention's policy on oil and gas is mounted on 3 frames. 1, institutional arrangements for the management of oil and gas. 2, transparency and accountability. And 3, fiscal sustainability. At the level of institutional arrangement for the management of oil and gas, the PNC will strengthen the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, to facilitate the process of capacity building, public awareness, and transparency. We will create an additional exclusive transparency agency charged with contracts and procurements within the oil and gas sector. The PNC will also strengthen the governing boards of the state-owned enterprises, SOEs, and insulate them from government vested interests so that they can be more effective in their oversight roles. We shall also outsource recruitment by SOEs to reputable and independent recruitment firms to reduce political cronyism. More importantly, we will separate the Attorney General's Department from that of the Minister of Justice. I've already alluded to that. In respect of transparency and accountability in this sector, the PNC will mandate all public office holders and politically exposed persons to fully declare and publish their assets. This, in particular, will apply to all government appointees, directors, ministers, members of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. If you are here and you are on that committee, watch out, we are coming, you will declare your assets. Let me digress here a little bit. Ghana has 26 gold mines. Ghana has 0% shares in any of those gold mines. Our parliament divested our interest in those gold mines. We will also mandate that information and public documents, including those related to contracting processes from the oil and gas sector, should be made accessible, whereas those like bidding documents and geological data will require a minimal fee for access. In other words, the others, you get it free. But if you're looking for this, because you may be looking for it to enhance your own business. More so, the issue of beneficial ownership will be addressed by ensuring that companies that seek to bid for public contracts must fully disclose their owners, and false information on beneficial ownership shall be criminalized. We shall also ensure that oil and gas contracts are subject to the Public Procurement Act. At present, the final decision on the award of oil blocks rests with the Minister of Petroleum. That's too much power in one man's hand. We will change this arrangement to ensure transparency. We further will ensure that all funds to and from SOEs must pass through the consolidated fund to allow for parliamentary scrutiny. A PNC government will also ensure the directors and officers of SOEs are individually liable for criminal prosecution in case of suspected malfeasance. This is meant to promote effective transparency and oversight. Finally, there shall be enhanced internal control mechanisms by SOEs by allowing the Public Services Commission to appoint members to the boards of these bodies rather than the President. Ladies and gentlemen, on the issue of fiscal sustainability in the oil and gas sector, a PNC government will draft a Fiscal Responsibility Act that establishes, among others, provisions on budget and expenditure coherence, debt ceiling, that is capping national borrowing to prevent credit excesses that will lower Ghana's credit ratings. We have seen it happen, which in turn forces the use of savings from, for example, the Stabilization Fund and a revision of the tax regime to favor local companies vis-a-vis international corporations. Ladies and gentlemen, we will also enhance the capacity of the Ghana Revenue Authority to periodically audit international oil and gas corporations to verify if the profit extraction as declared is accurate. Finally, and I think
of the submissions that he made, what stood out for you in Dr. Mahama's address?
Well, first of all, I think the whole idea of having a stakeholder focus on education was clear. I particularly like the idea that he's going to ensure that education was going to be a stakeholder engagement, and particularly the private sector's angle. And that is welcoming enough, because the public system isn't delivering what we want. My only charge, and I hope that he doesn't change when the real manifesto comes out, is that he doesn't unnecessarily tax the private sector to splurge it on the public sector. He probably needs to have an intelligent discourse between the private sector and the public sector, so that the public sector, the private sector can deliver results that will complement the public sector. If he has money to spend for education, he should ensure that there's a lot of pilot study to ensure the critical sectors that need the money, so that the private sector can take care of itself as well.
You are with the Money Ghana, and definitely as a research organization yourself, you're interested in a lot of detail. Did he come across as being detailed enough in his submission?
Well, there was some amount of detail, I've got to say. Even though he made 84 promises on the 9th, there were a bit of detail which you got from the question and answers. I've got to say, though, that he says that he's going to flesh them out in the manifesto. So we take this as 84. Well, a bit detail, the others may follow. I suspect if there were further questioning, he probably provided detail. I wasn't particularly happy with the answers he gave on the fuel, as in sourcing, fueling our energy, if you like, needs. He didn't come across as understanding the question quite well, because it's a question of resource. If you didn't have the money, you don't go creating storage banks and all of that. So I think that was a bit on the low side. But I think by and large, he gave details about some of the corruption that he thinks he can fight. I mean, the Public Procurement Act that needs reviewing is essential. He's essentially saying that, look, if 80-90% of public procurement is sole sourced, we might as well not have a public procurement law. And he's asking for a review. You and I now need to hold him to account as to the degree of review, which would ensure that the public sector gets, the balance or the reduction in sole sourcing is what we need to do, because that was a bit vague.
There are those who